personal judge from the city of Ashland here with us today, Circuit Judge Vincent.
Do you solemnly swear that you will well and truly discharge the duties of the office of the Commissioner of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, according to the best of your skill and judgment, and that you will not knowingly or willingly commit any malfeasance of office, and will faithfully execute the duties of your office without favor, affection, or partiality? And do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of City Commissioner of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, according to law? And do you further solemnly swear or affirm that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state, nor out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
If you please stand for the invocation and pledge the flag.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, once again we thank you for another day in our city. We once again ask you for wisdom and guidance for this board of mayor and commissioners as we strive to make the right decisions for our city and its people. We ask blessing and favor on our staff and for those citizens that are in attendance this evening. Guide and direct our meeting this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a motion to receive and file the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. A motion to receive and file the minutes of the regular meeting of February 8th, 2018, the recess meeting February 9th, 2018, and the recess meeting February 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. I'll start out tonight by being honored to make a presentation. And if I could have Trustee John Marshall come up and join me from the Ashland Elks Lodge. My Ashland Elks Lodge, which I've been a member for 52 years. I know it's hard to believe that, looking at me, how could that be? But I think that's when they let us in at 5 years old, Jerry, was that right?
Yeah, both of us.
Both of us went in. Thank my brother Elks for being here tonight. We appreciate it. We could spend an hour trying to talk about what impact the Elks has on our community, on school systems, on our safety departments, police and fire. The list would be quite long. I want you to know how much we appreciate everything the Elk Lodge does for the youth, for kids in need, for the Christmas party, everything that they do. And it makes me very proud as a member. A proclamation by C.V. Gilmore, Mayor, City of Ashland, Kentucky. Whereas this year marks the 150th anniversary of the founding of the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks for the United States of America. Whereas this fraternal order was founded to promote and practice the four cardinal virtues of charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity, to promote the welfare and enhance the happiness of its members, to quicken the spirit of American patriotism and cultivate good fellowship. Whereas with a new spirit and direction, the Elks began helping veterans and children, awarding scholarships and more, engaging communities wherever charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity were needed. Whereas the Elks are committed to serving people and communities through benevolent programs, demonstrating that Elks care and Elks share. Whereas this Ashland, Kentucky Elks Lodge number 350 has 1,174 members and was chartered July 7, 1897. Whereas the Ashland Elks Lodge 350 demonstrates their service to the Ashland community through several programs dedicated to helping veterans and children and those always in need. Whereas the City of Ashland is a better community for everyone due to the past, present, and future efforts of Elks Lodge 350. Now therefore, I, Stephen E. Gilmore, Mayor of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim 2018 as Ashland Elks Lodge 350 year in the City of Ashland. Congratulations. Before my Elks brothers leave, they may decide to leave before we get to another item, but just so happened on the agenda tonight is an item under a consent agenda to approve and accept a donation from Elks 350 of 50 pairs of gloves for our police department that are Kevlar lined with all the work our officers do with picking up syringes, officer wrestling with people with drugs, or you reach in the pockets. We see it on TV all the time, you know, where they always ask, you got anything in your pockets, going to stick me or punch me or whatever. And Ashland Elks Lodge have donated this to the tune of $1,250 for this safety of our people. Just another issue. I'm afraid you ought to get away where you knew we were thanking you for that tonight and voting to accept these as a gift to our public safety department.
It's our pleasure, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
We appreciate it more than you know. Okay, Commissioner, that's all I have. Anybody, please take over.
Just a couple comments. One, thank you to the Ashland Elks 350. Many of you may or may not know I was raised in Catlettsburg Lodge 942. My dad was the exalted ruler there for a number of years, and so I've been an elk tiny one for a long time. I was raised there. So I appreciate all of your efforts, and I've watched that as I've grown and really believe in your mission. And so again, thank you for that. The other thing that I need to bring up, Mayor and Commissioners, I sent each of you an application that I thought that we may want to look at that came out of my budget discussion this last week. We talked about how we handle dues and contributions in the budget, and thought that maybe there's a better way to do it and a more equitable way to do it in terms of how we allocate that money and those sorts of things. And I think the feeling that sort of came, like I said, out of my budget meeting was to make those allocations more project-based and have a higher degree of accountability for those funds. And so I emailed you this week just an application that I basically took from other grant applications. I did not reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to claim this as my own. To basically say, this is the organization, this is how much money we are requesting, this is what we're going to use it for. And I'd like to, when it's appropriate in this meeting or now, have a discussion about how we want to handle that, if we want to do it that way, just basically because we know that this is going to be a crunch this year. We've got to, I think we have to have something in place that helps us with that.
I do. I appreciate your work on it, Commissioner, and I agree totally. I think I've been on 2 Kentucky League of Cities conference meetings this week. It lasted a couple hours each, another one this morning, and basically talking more about the Senate Bill 1, which is the pension liability that is headed our way and every city and county's way in Kentucky. And it's going to be a major financial burden on the city of Ashland. A lot of cities are going to belly up. I can just tell you, they're not sure what they're going to do. We can survive for a while, but it's a major hit on our budget. Right now, it's projected to be $1.9 million. Who has that?
Well, it's important to point out that that's not for just this year.
Every year.
We've got a plan for that for every year.
Every year thereafter. So years ago, and I don't know when, but we began some kind of program of trying to make contributions to quality of life type organizations and agencies in the city. Really the kind you would hope that they could probably get donation from the public on a regular basis, as some agencies do, of course. But I think it's kind of evolved into, we may not be able to afford hardly anything next year, if anything, but we're trying to let those agencies know now. A letter's gone out to those agencies who received funds last year. We're not sure what we're going to be able to do. Some of them were sizable, some were moderate, and so forth, but regardless, it's something we have to look at. And in determining the hurtful impact of that, we also decided that the best thing to do, and Commissioner Clark took off with it, was to get some validation from these agencies. On the surface, we know they're good people, they're doing good things. But we needed an application process to tell us what they do, what they plan on doing with whatever they're asking from the city. And is that we wanted accounted for, and we wanted to look at their budget to see what other money they have coming in. We just want some justification and accountability from anybody that comes before us wanting donations of taxpayer money, of your money. So we want to keep a closer lid on that, especially the fact that we're going to be in a tough budget crunch come July 1. So that application is going to go out to these agencies. They can simply fill it all out and do the best they can with being honest and upfront about everything. And then when they come to us or send in to us what it is they're hoping to receive, at least we'll be able to look at that and see what the impact is. You know, things like, well, how many people does it affect? You know, how many does it impact kids and families? And is it surely a quality of life agency, something that adds to the quality of life for all of our citizens, which is significant.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second.
Sure.
I think a few things that we have to decide in this process. Our ordinance right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think our ordinance right now in terms of dues, or in terms of contributions, asks that the request comes to the city by February the 1st.
That's correct.
So we have already gotten requests that have come in. So we need to decide if we go back to those people who've already requested funds with an application and have them resubmit, or if we say that we're going to do this moving forward. I think that those are some things that we need to line out.
I, for one, definitely think they fill it out now. We would not be making any determinations till we get into the budget. So there's plenty of time for them to know ahead of time, and hopefully for us to know. I don't know a whole lot more from today, except the Senate Bill 1 has been proposed. It doesn't have some things in it the League of Cities representing us wanted in it. So that's still going on every day in the legislature. So until we get that bottom line, we're not sure what we're going to be able to do. So I, for one, would want the application you put together, Commissioner, to go out.
Okay.
You know, just one other comment. We are in the process of reviewing the application. There are some good things about the former application, so we'd like to merge the two. And the letter that we sent out
Do we
today.
I know this is ignorance on my part, and I apologize. Is that formal application somewhere where people can get to it and notice send it in? I don't think it is.
I don't know if it's on the website or not.
Because I know for the last couple of years in terms of budget, we were getting requests right up until we were sitting down in the work sessions.
The city ordinance, I think it was 54 in 2001, laid that out, that it'd be in by the 1st of February, and there is a form. So
Most of the people are
Yeah, I
repeat,
can,
folks. I mean, they're used to the routine.
and to the mayor's point, the letter that we sent out, actually went out today, did inform all the previous 3-year recipients or requestees 2 years, thank you, Mr. Grubb, that the processes may change. So they've been informed of that, or they will be when they get the letter.
I want to tell you, I thank you for that research you did on it, and I'm entirely for it, to be reviewed like that.
Good.
Thank you. I think the other part of this plan is to determine how we're going to review that application.
Let's talk about a committee.
And maybe we do it the same way as we did your riverfront. Each
Yeah.
one of us appoint appoints
They're
somebody
swimming
or
down there right now.
gives you,
Yeah.
gives the mayor a recommendation for somebody on that committee, to make the advisory panel for these applications.
Before that.
I know that, I've sat a couple of times on the United Way advisory panel that does the very same thing. They go through each of the applications and sort of determine their merit and give an award or recommend an award for the United Way Board to distribute.
I agree with you, Commissioner Duke. I think that we need to do that. I think there was some discussion, we could just pull, each of us propose somebody, but we could pull people off some of the committees we already have.
We could, or we could, I think if each one of us
Doesn't have to
maybe
be.
picks somebody, or
I'd
gives you a.
like to open it up to the public.
Yeah, I would
Honestly,
too.
I think it'd be nice to see some
I think I'd like to
people
see-
that we don't see on these boards
Yeah.
participating.
To sort of put out there who would like to do it and let us know.
Okay.
So, thank you all, I appreciate that.
We'll just make
It's something that's
recommendations
kind of
to
been
Andrew
on my radar for a couple of years.
Good.
Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody, my statements, and I just want to give your attention to our new PIO. Joanna has put a fire department page on the website and also on Facebook. I want to invite you to like that page. It's a really good page. And also I want to just to welcome everybody and say, go Tomcats. I'm hoping this will be a short meeting because Tomcats play Boyd County tonight out there. And we get snookered when we go out there, so. Last time they found out you, Charlie, back there, and you were with all the JV boys, is all, that last time, so. Go Tomcats.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Oh, sorry, if you're a Boyd County resident, I'm real sorry.
Commissioner Steen, you have anything today, your first meeting?
Glad to be here. Appreciate the vote of confidence. I'll do my best.
So you will, we're glad you're here. City Manager?
A couple items, Mayor. First off, looking at the National Weather Service predictions for flooding, the latest prediction they had this afternoon is that we will go up to 58.2 feet next Monday, Monday at 3 p.m. However, there's other predictions that will that are predicting that will go a little bit higher. For the public to know, we start putting the pump stations into order at 45 feet. At 62 feet, we start putting in the flood wall. So the staff will have a meeting tomorrow morning, along with trying to get Tim England in for a way ahead if this does exceed 60 feet. The next thing I'd like to do is compliment the community on how can we help version 2.0. I mentioned that during the last staff meeting. We've had a ton of hits on that, and hopefully what you're seeing when you utilize that is that there's a pretty quick turnaround. I know Mr. Carpenter and the Streets Department have been working feverishly with all the challenges on the potholes. There's been some special emphasis by him and Mr. Downs also on 29th Street. As you all know, rain comes in, it almost tears it up immediately. So I do request that everybody that travel on that road heed the advice to go 10 miles per hour. If you choose to use it, if you can avoid it, it will be great until we get that paved. But again, the How Can We Help 2.0, we're continuing to make changes on it, adjustments. We're working with Revise, the company that provides that for us, to try to make it even more intuitive. And folks are actually posting photos, so it's pretty cool. If you want to get on there and tool around and see what your fellow citizens are bringing to our attention, please do that. The last thing I'd like to address is item number 8 on the consent agenda is a recommendation for Safe Harbor to conduct a Happy Feet 5K run. I'd like to make the recommendation we remove that from the agenda. The reason is I'm going to make a formal policy or ordinance recommendation in the future, Mayor and Commissioners, on how we are a little bit more consistent on the cost for doing runs, and it's something that we'll address at the next board meeting, if you're in favor of that.
Motion to remove that.
I'll make it, I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Abstain.
Manager, let me ask you, so can the 29th Street from Carter to Geiger Crossing there, is it ready to be paved when the plant opens?
When the plant opens, we can start paving. I think we're going to do it all in one fell swoop though, and the estimations on the plant opening is 1 April, I believe.
I think mid-April.
We still have additional pipe delay we need to run up to Forest, and there's also some additional work to be done on Simpson also. So those are not ready to be paved. even
There's
if the
still
plan was
some
open.
concrete work as well, sidewalks, curbs.
Thank you.
So whenever the sidewalks and curbs are all ready, then the paving contractor will be able to come in.
We did
Are
get a
those
lot of,
sidewalks and curbs gonna be finished by the time the plant opens? Please say yes.
Tentatively scheduled, so, yes, it should be.
the original forecast is that entire project will be complete by the 1st of May. And we are, again, the streets and water distribution are working regularly to try to keep that approved. But again, it just depends on the day, what the weather does, the traffic. Not to be a negative nabob, but that it does get traveled awful fast, which does have an adverse effect on it and just the overall traffic. So if there is any way to avoid it, please avoid it. We'll continue to try to put the cold patch on. Weather tears that up pretty much, so it's an ongoing battle, and it's a lot of resources going into that effort.
When is the next part, what road is gonna be closed next?
The portion of the road from from the intersection of 29 up to Forest is the next CSO, and simultaneously, we're also gonna put in 12-inch water line up to Forest. Anything else?
Well, actually, the contractor called this morning and said that there's about a 50% chance that they may start the work at Forest and 29th as early as Monday. It all just depends upon weather.
How many residences will be impacted?
Well, that will prevent through traffic from South Ashland to north, just at Forest, but, I don't know how to gauge.
It's a moving number because as it moves down the road, different folks are impacted.
Yeah.
So have the residences that will be impacted been notified by mail or by phone?
It's been posted on our website for,
It would be too large of a mailer to send out.
I'd be glad to call them. Seriously, if we can get a list, that'd be great.
Can we, at the minimum, put a flyer at each door? Letting them know, and we've got to give them advance warning.
Yeah, just depends who you consider as being.
Yeah, we put a notice in the paper too, but we could put a flyer on the door. If we may do it Monday, I'm all for that. Let's get it going, but we need people to understand it.
Not everybody's gonna have internet.
And what are they going, exactly, and I don't know people, what they do in their driveway.
Oh, we're just doing the work at Forest, so we're only talking impacting directly maybe 10 homes.
Perfect.
But as far as
We
the
can do it.
through traffic on 29th, that'll
Oh,
affect.
no, yeah.
So we can contact 10 homes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can do that.
but I do want to reemphasize, this hasn't changed from the last emphasis we put on it after we made the decision on the water line, and I believe the Daily Independent had also published that in the paper, so we will follow through on that.
Okay, anything else?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Anybody? Okay. At this point in our meeting is public participation. If you have something you'd like to bring before the commission, we'd ask you to give your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Step up, Mr. Rogers.
Okay. Not to stand right here, or I go up
You
here.
step, you've been to meetings.
One time.
One time, really?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Academy. But I'm Hobart O. Rogers Jr., named after my dad. Bowling gave me my name, Hobie. I've been Hobie ever since. But I live at 3440 Central, and all this rain been going on. It's been like it for the last almost 7 years. There's a hill, and the water comes up. We're afraid to go back to our house. In our house, because we don't know how much it's going to look back here. Because we don't use the whole house, and there's water coming in. I wish somebody would. My sister retired in 2 years, and we can't afford to pay somebody to get that water to throw some other way, so it's not going in our house. We're afraid to look back here.
Yeah.
And I wish some way the city could help us out. I love this town. I don't want to complain about it. I love this place more than anybody know.
Well, we can't get on your property, Hobie, and do anything.
It's somebody else's property. That's what it's that coming down. They don't own that part. Yeah, coming down.
Well, we'll get somebody to take a look at it, Randy. Will you take a look at 3447?
It's the last house on the hillside. They're coming down. You remember, there's this rain. It's been really bad, and we lost we had to pay for 2 hot water tanks in our basement. Or something. I don't know. I don't know if that's the cause of it or what. But that's all I need to tell y'all.
We'll see what we can do,
Okay.
Mr. Rogers.
God bless Ashland, Kentucky.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
My name's Rhonda Wilson, and I live at 4135 Capitol Street.
Capel?
Capitol.
Okay.
Yeah, just like Capitol Hospital. I had a question about this shutdown at Forest and 29. What businesses does that affect? Because they've been hit pretty hard.
From Forest to, well,
We're talking 10 homes, but what businesses? 'Cause
well,
they've been hit
probably
pretty
there's an
hard.
awning shop there, and then Ken's BP, that
And it's gonna be
29th
another-
Street ingress and egress.
It's insurance there next to it.
And there's an insurance agency there.
So they're gonna be impacted.
Sure they will.
Okay. Second thing is, I'm also the Ashland Middle School PTO president. You knew me as the Oakview Elementary PTO
Oh, I know
president.
you're familiar. I know
Yeah,
you're
that's
familiar.
why you know me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for serving in those roles.
Absolutely. Today, we got our own bad news about Frisk, and they're getting ready to shut us down. We have already lost an employee. Her last day will be in a couple weeks. And we lost $18,059.50 between 3 centers.
Yeah, that's all over the state.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Chief
That's-
Kelly, I called you personally last week. I saw the extended police presence at our middle school. And I went, I know these guys got this. I'm not worried. But I had 100 phone calls from moms and dads who were not okay with this.
Sure, for people that aren't school people, Frisky is Family Youth Resource Centers. They came in under the Reform Act back in the 90s, and they're unbelievably important and successful for all the needy children we have in the school district, for clothing, for food, for transportation, for you name
Mental
it, for
health.
counseling, and they're being cut in the governor's budget all over the state of Kentucky.
It's statewide.
Statewide.
All the counties are hit. Transportation's been hit.
So there's 3 at the middle school.
There's 3 total. We have the Ashland Resource Center, we have the Ashland Youth Resource Center in South Ashland. All 3 got hit.
Yeah.
$6,000 came out of Midland. We didn't have $6,000.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about moving Karen Gerhardt, who's our director, over to the main office. Well, let me tell you, while I'm there during the day, and while I'm done during this school year, I'm begging for clothes, I'm begging for food. We shove food in these kids' backpacks every day. We are taking care of them. A lot of these kids come to school to be loved and to be taken care of because they don't have running water at home, they don't have electric at home. You know who I'm talking about. Marty, you see this too. You know who I'm talking about. You all have kids there. Amanda, you have kids there. We know, we all see this. This is the state and the nature. And if this goes, what will Ashland do? Now, the reason why I brought up Chief Kelly is because these kids who are mentally not stable will now fall through the cracks. There's 2 counselors per school. Frisk picks up the pieces. And that's where I stand. So if these kids lose all their money, and I am running for city commissioner, and I've already decided to get my paycheck out, I don't want the money. It's not that I don't need the money. I'd love to take an extra vacation. Heck yeah, just like everybody else. But I've decided to donate my money. And originally, my thought was computers. But now I'm thinking, I need to save this Frisk program in our county. This is our kids. And if we want to prevent violence in our schools, we need to keep these women working. We need to continue loving these kids because it's the only time they see it. I paid for shoes, I paid for food, I've shoved money in kids' pockets, stuff people don't even know or see. And people need to hear it. And these small businesses that's been affected, like Ken's, he's donated time and time again, out of pocket, delivered it, picked it up, done everything he can do out of his power. And these road closures are shutting him down. Atkins Hardware, all of them. And I think it needs to be heard. It needs to be heard on a level from a mom, from a PTO president, from someone who works in the mom cat booth and watches you guys out there on the field. I donated $8,400 in my own cash this year to build an outdoor classroom and fund the football team.
Have you talked to the Board of Education?
I have talked to everyone who will listen, and they will not return my phone calls.
But if you gone to a board meeting and they didn't respond?
They can't. Their hands are tied.
Well,
There's no more different than what you're going through
well,
right
we
here,
know
right
that.
now.
But we've been there. I mean, I've been there many, many years, but,
And I'm running for site base. I'm a doer. I'm not gonna sit back and just let it happen.
yeah, everything like that, sometimes you have to weigh them all out and see what you can do without. It's not near as important as what you're talking about.
But these children
I'm not
are
saying they
important.
have the money, but sometimes you try to find it somewhere else, but something else is gonna get reduced or cut out.
They've given us, I'll give you the exact numbers. They cut, just from the Ashland Middle School, they cut $6,059.50. The school board gave us $2,963.18. That was 1 hour of Jeannie Stafford's salary per day. They took staff cuts and then they dismissed the coordinator at the central office, who's been there for almost 12 years.
Yeah.
And that's effective at the 1st of April.
Well, we're all getting that, so, I mean, I'm not sure.
My
that-
question to the city of
Yes,
Ashland
what's our
is that
question?
if you all are doing fund requests, like Amanda had with Form 4, are our kids worth that?
Well, anybody can make a fund request.
Yeah.
Are they worth it?
Ma'am, you don't have to ask me
I'm
that.
at, you know where I'm at.
Yeah, I do, but I don't think you have to ask any of these people up here. They're all
That's
tuned
where I'm
into
at.
that. But
I want to know if the city of Ashland will back our children and keep them safe.
well, we try to do it every day.
Absolutely, and I trust these men.
Yeah.
I know them. I see them every day.
But there have funding cuts, we have funding cuts, and it's, everyone, you're not going to do so much with the funds we get from the state or
Absolutely.
tax that we get.
And I beg and I borrow every day.
We encourage you to keep up your work on it. I don't think you're gonna get any negativity here. I mean, but certainly feel free and talk to other Friskies to turn in, fund requests, gift in kind,
It's
and
past the
you'll
due
be
date.
in the
Can I
mix.
still turn one in?
You'll be in the mix.
Yeah,
Will
I
you
think
send
part
me
of
one?
what we just decided was that we are extending that due date because we're sending out those applications. And that'll be, I'm sure, posted on our webpage, on our Facebook page, that all that information will be available.
Will you guys
I'm
send me?
making that assumption, but I'm
Yeah, we'll be on the
feel certain
webpage.
in it.
We just need to, we may make a final recommendation on the application letter, and then we can get that out, or the application.
That'd be good.
Yep.
So if I leave my email, will you send me one?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Good.
Yeah, in fact, public information officer probably can handle it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Thank you. We appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Hi, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, sir.
How are you? Your name and address?
My name is Charles Scott. I live at 2733 Hilton Avenue.
Welcome.
I always thank you. I always start off by saying praise the Lord anytime I'm out.
Thank you.
But I'm here as a concerned citizen. A lot of you know me since I've been under 5 foot. They tell you ain't down 6'4" now, so somebody here knows me. But I love the city of Ashland. I really do. And I've seen several of you in different places, and I say thank you for what you all have done, because I've grown up with some of you. I talked to Brother Kelly through his father years ago. I'm gonna try to make this fast without rambling, but I'm very concerned about our city, very concerned. Brother Todd's dad told me, he said that, Charlie, we're in between Charleston and Huntington. I think I've talked to you before, and Portsmouth, but it's coming our way. Guess what? It's here. So one of the things that I am concerned about, some of you know, some of my friends are the most wealthy here in our tri-state area, and I know some of the poorest here in our area. I've got a good rapport with everyone. I've had a mentor program for over 30 years here in Ashland. The things I'm concerned about right now is the drugs and different things, and I know you all are. But there are some things that we can do here, and I just like Brother Goop was saying, I have that same enthusiasm with our area. When you say Ashland, and then I played against somebody from Boyd County that's sitting in here, and but we have to have that spirit of loving our city, concerned about our city, and we've got to do some things, because some of the things, like I said, I'm going to ramble a little bit, but some of the things we have, our CARES program and our halfway house. I asked a question last time I was here about why we have the halfway house situation. Are we actually getting enough money to say this is, and excuse me, because I want to help everybody, but I know, Brother Todd, some of those people that stay in our area are drug dealers and other things, and they stay here, they get, and you know it yourself, and they stay here. Some of the people, see, we live in this small city, but we're not as advanced as some of these larger cities. We bring people in when we hear the word Detroit or we hear cartel. See, sometimes I get offended when I hear some words. When you say Detroit, a lot of times you may think of an African American. you hear the cartel, you think of Mexicans or whatever it may be. This hits all of us. I know some of my wealthiest friends had to send their kids away. They had the money to send their kids away for education. Everybody doesn't have that. There's all kinds of programs. We have all kinds of people that are on boards, but sometimes we're just a face on the board. It doesn't mean you really care. Well, I'm on this board here, I'm on this board, but I know some of you really care, but we're in trouble right now. Like I said, I've worked with those kids. We've got a lot of drugs, and it's just really, we haven't had the bad people that really hurt people right now that's moved in. You know, we have a lot of, Brother Kelly can tell you, we've got a lot of drugs here, but we don't have those bad people to enforce. I know something, I've told some people, a lot of people don't want to hear about their kids. I've told them, your kids are doing some things with certain, well, that's not my kid. No, your kid's doing it. I don't know if you've ever heard of fronting money. You know, I may give you $1,000 for you to give me $2,000 back, you know. But there's a lot of kids that are really in some bad places right now. Our CARES program, it's a gimmick a lot of times, and I'm not putting it down because we are helping people, but it's a game. They'll go and eat the morning, lunch, and dinner, and then you get shelter, you get clothing, you get a shower. Guess what's missing in that? The money part. They're going to go make money, whether it be prostitution or selling drugs, and it's here. A lot of times up in Huntington, I heard a lot of us when that housing project, when they shut it down, we're moving to Ashland because we can get all those things here. So one of the things I thought that we could do, I said, what can I do to tell somebody, is we need to do some drive-bys when, you know, when you see that packed at lunchtime, just walk through a police officer or something. See, a lot of times I'll talk to some of the police officers. One of my best friends that just retired said, you know, we can only do some things, but if I see you, I may try to avoid Brother Perkins, or I may try to avoid it. But if we never go around it, you know, I see you from afar, it's not going to work. See, a rat will, you know, you may have a hole here, but they're going to get another hole someplace else. You know, so we've got to be concerned about our CARES program, the boxes at the churches. That's great to do, but, you know, just like my church, we give out a lot of food at our church at Christ Temple. Calvin Bradley is my pastor, and then my son-in-law's there now. We give a lot of food out, and I hate to say this, but we don't have very many of those people that come back to our church. See, it's a game, it's a gimmick for a lot of them. Mondays, I'll go to Christ Temple. Tuesday, I may go to Unity. Then the next day, I may go to another church. Brother Goop may know this. I may borrow money someplace else. But we have to work with our area churches, our city, and say, what is it we can do to maybe, instead of giving a fish, teach them how to fish? That should be all of our goals, but we are in trouble, Bishop Gilmore. You know, I know a lot of these people here that's in this city, you know, and I grew up admiring you, and I've always told you, I always looked up to you. But we're in a bad place, I'm telling you, right now, our city. And my time may be up, but we need to be careful, because I know a lot of these people are moving here because they say, Ashland is a good place for me to go because I can get food, shelter, and all these other things. Yes, sir.
Good points. You've made all good points.
Yes.
I think all of us have thoughts like that. You become a magnet sometimes for the wrong people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But in the process, you're trying to take care of people that really need it, need help, and are lost.
Yes, sir.
And when you're doing that, I mean, we're so proud of the neighborhood, but with that comes some responsibilities and obligations, and you keep talking about it turns into more gimmick for those people using us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I don't know the real solution. It's kind of, you know, you can't do the shotgun approach to all of them, because there are a lot of needy people who can't do it, can't make it.
Yes, sir.
But we have become a magnet for many of the wrong
many, yes,
people.
sir. Yes, sir.
And our police deal with it every day, and we worry about their safety every day as well as in our neighborhoods. Keep coming back, because these are things we all need to be revitalized with. We talk about it all the time. It's frustrating. Chief's in my office 2 or 3 times a week and bring me up on the latest stuff going on. And, you know, it's trying to, you know, plug the dike. You know, holes keep coming, water keeps coming out. But our goal is to take care of home.
Yes, sir.
The best we can, you know. And Charlie, you know, another thing I notice you do too is, my wife's from Louisville. She's been here 30 years. Okay, so she's kind of asked her now, but she's picked up on, I know about everybody, and she'll say to me, you know, to see people walk down Blackburn Avenue.
Right.
She said, you know them? I said, oh, no. She said, I didn't think
Yes,
you
sir.
did.
Yes, sir.
Because I see people I don't know anymore.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we've got a culture that Police don't know them either. Used to, police would pull up when I was a kid, say, you want to get on home. You want me to follow you or you getting home? Well, they don't even know people's names now, and if they holler, they're afraid what comes back at them. But we're all over the country. It's like that, Charlie, and when it's a small town, exactly what you said, you see it more.
If I may, before I apologize for taking the time, but I was just wondering if Mr. Kelly or somebody, during those times that they're eating at different places, you know, just if it starts at 12 o'clock, if we can just have a police officer just walk, not harassing anyone, just walking by and saying hello. And I've talked to him before. See, when I grew up with Captain Borders and your father, see, I knew all the police officers. When I was Mr. Tussey and all those, they were the coaches. They coached us in football, baseball. See, and I apologize for this because I think you're doing a great job. But see, I may wave at the police, excuse me for saying it, I may wave at a police officer now and they may not wave. A lot, excuse me, they're younger and they don't have that. When I was growing up, I was supposed to speak to all adults. You know, I was supposed to speak to you first when I entered the room. We don't have that anymore. But if you can get more flies with honey than me looking at Brother Kelly, he's mean mugging me, you know what I mean by that. You know, if he's just looking at me mean, but if he looks at me and goes, hey, I may help him with the next case, or if he asks me what's going on next door, you know, if I could smile and say hello and participate, and you walk through those shelters, the cares, and hey, how y'all doing? And just let you know, oh, I'm looking at you, you know, but I'm saying hi, you know, but if we could have some more presence in the cares and going to the shelter on Winchester Avenue and all those places. But I do appreciate your time, and God, I love Ashland.
Don't go anywhere yet. I just want to have a comment.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, and some of us have participated in. United Way has been having a series of community conversations, and they're really engaging all parts of the community about what the needs are, about whose responsibility it is to take on these problems. The next one is March the 15th, 8:30 at Salvation Army. They are open to the public, and if you could be there, that would be great.
And last thing I said, I wanted to recommend that I love the Ashland motion. I love that, and I want to try to be a part of that because I love our city. And the last thing, I think that we need something here that I've had people come from out there. What do y'all do here? I mean, even if we had a large fountain, you know, this is where, you know, something beautiful that, you know, what's in Ashland? What do you have to look forward to? Do you have a water park or, you know, all that property across from the hospital that we were going to do at one time? At one time we're going to do, but if we can do something like this is what we do, and maybe use the halfway house people to clean up the area and do, but we need something here for our youth to look forward to and be proud of, whether it be a statue, a big fountain, a water park, something for our youth. Sports park, something that's going to draw and say, this is why, see, I actually want my son to come with me this evening. I want my son and daughters to stay, you know, to be able to stay in Ashland and be proud of it. I want to be proud of Ashland and tell everybody, I love this place. But we just need something to attract and keep those that, you know, like you said, we used to say hello to people, and like what you're talking about, people don't wave anymore. Yeah. And that's, you know, we're losing that. Yeah. But I apologize for that.
We're glad you're a national citizen, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm proud of you. Yeah. But let me just say this, if I didn't teach them or coach them, policemen don't wave at me either. Oh. And I've told every chief, every year I've ever been down there, I said, listen, it's kind of like being a principal of school or assistant principal of course. You don't have to walk around and act like you're that. They all know you are.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I highly respect my police officers. I always have. I have a record of it. And I every day are all of our public safety. But sometimes police officers watch too many movies and think they have to look mean all the time. But that doesn't always get it done.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But they don't wave at me either. I just want you to know that.
And I'll counter some of that. I went on a ride along with Chief Kelly, and the police were, when we were out, they were interacting with the community members, asking questions, and I was really impressed with that. So it's probably a little bit of both.
Well, I grew up with Todd, and I think the world, he knows I think the world of it. But I think we can always do better. And if you can tell me something, I can tell you something, we can do it together. But I'm very proud of him. He's got a tough job, but I think he's doing a great job.
We do too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, a whole lot.
Hello, I'm Jessica Evans. I live on 5010 Robin Hood Drive. We purchased the house 4 years ago in April, and we were under the impression the realtor that sold it, it was her house. She said that the grinding pump in the backyard was the city was responsible for it. We had no issues with it up until January 2nd of this year. Sewage all in the backyard. We called the city. They came to the house. They said, sorry, can't help you. There's nothing you can do. And the pump's about $4,000 to replace. Of course, I mean, we don't have that kind of money, but I mean, we had to fix it because it's raw sewage in my backyard, and I have a son, and I have two dogs. They said they sent us a letter. We never received one. Neither did my neighbor that lives on the street. She's here with me today. They never received a letter. I mean, I don't understand how if the city put it in, how they aren't responsible to fix it. How they can just give us responsibility for something that, I mean, that wasn't our choice.
Well, I guess my question would be to staff is, who did the owner of the property install the pump?
No, when they built the house, it was installed. The city, when this happened to her when she lived there. And back in 2008, it overflowed on her. The city came out and they did replace the pump for her. And they tried to get her to sign a piece of paper stating that they were, that they wanted her to take over responsibility. And of course she said, no, I don't want responsibility of this.
Right.
And then they came and she said that they, I guess, tried to determine whether or not how much it was going to cost to tie in our sewage with Sherwood Drive down below us. I guess it was too much money because they did not do it. Like I said, when we moved in, the city was responsible for it.
So
When did you move in?
It'll be 4 years in April.
and you said they said you received a letter and you said you did not.
Yeah, we did not receive a letter, and neither did my neighbors that are here with me today.
And the person that sold you the house said that the guy came out and fixed it or whatever.
They replaced the pump,
And he had a letter with him to sign.
He had a letter that with him to sign. She refused. Then she actually signed. I have it right here. She told them she gave them permission to come back onto her property, and she gave me what she signed about giving them permission to come on her property to fix the pump and the later dates.
Well, I would only say, I've been here a long time. In fact, I was on the commission when the originals went in out there before you were born, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But there was never perpetuity to those going in. Now, I don't know when I was out of office what kind of letters went out or anything, but I can say this. I wasn't there, but I've never known of an employee coming out and having a letter get signed.
She said after they replaced it.
Excuse me?
She said after they replaced it, they, I guess, came out to try to get her to take over responsibility.
Yeah.
My thoughts on this would be is if you don't say you had got a letter and the city doesn't have any copy of a letter or even maybe a certified mail receipt to you, I can't imagine it being official.
I mean, and like I said, my neighbor here with me today, she didn't receive one. I pay the same taxes as my neighbor next door that does not have one of these pumps.
Do you pay a sewer fee?
I do, and I have that here. I have it for the past 18 months.
So,
and I also texted a couple of my other neighbors that do not have the pumps, and I have their actual water bill for this month.
If the pumps don't work to get your sewage to the sewer that you're paying a fee for monthly, then in effect, your sewer's not working.
It's just going to go in my yard, yeah. Everything that is out of my house just goes in my backyard.
So it becomes a public health safety issue.
Yes. My son cannot go in my backyard, and my dogs can't go in their backyard.
Okay.
And actually, when I found it, my dogs were just playing in my sewage, so that's good, yeah.
So it sounds like the neighborhood may have issues with understanding what their role is in regards to the pumps that the city installed and paid for initially.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Just a little background, I think we dealt with this a few years ago, and we kind of looked at the background. In 1990, there was something that went through that basically said once they were installed, the pump shall be transferred to the property owner by written agreement. That was in 1990. In 2015,
Is that an ordinance?
It is an
yeah.
ordinance.
In 2015, we had to look at it again, and then again, because there wasn't really an established timeline or whatever, we made sure that in 2015 we made that say that those were the owner's responsibilities. This has been an ongoing.
How many other citizens are currently receiving?
6.
There's 6 grinder pumps for the total community that we serve.
No, that's just on Robin Hood and Mayberry.
And
That's the only place they're located.
is the same agreement in place for the others?
I can't answer that, but they,
'Cause I would want
Robin Lynn,
uniform-
they do their own thing.
I would want uniformity for all of our citizens.
And, I mean, I guess a couple of years ago, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's approximately 20 probably grinders within the system.
And how many of them are currently under the owner's responsibility?
All of them, all 20.
All 20, and it was done at the
We
same
added
time.
some off of Skyline Drive when we did Skyline Drive.
And which pumps continue to fail and have issues with? Is it just this community that we see this? Do you get any other questions from other citizens that are currently?
Eventually, they're all gonna fail.
Right.
Yeah, I think back in 2008, we had an owner up in the Cove Elementary area who has a grinder who wanted the city to replace his pump, and it was under this ordinance, and we did not. So there was not uniformity of the ordinance up until 2015.
Until 2015.
That was Mr. Clear that came before the commission.
Yeah.
That's when Mayor Kelly was here.
So there's at least 10 plus that the owners were owning and maintaining their own grinders, but there were these 6 or so that were put in, at the very first ones that were put in our system in, I think, 1979.
And historically, do cities typically install pumps for private citizens?
Historically, cities do not own and maintain individual house grinder stations. There are some exceptions, but like SD4, I believe, has an ordinance or rules that make of the private ownership. So we were kind of a hybrid there for a while.
I would like to add something.
Sir, you have to come up front.
I'm sorry, I'll go ahead and add for them. The city of Louisa actually maintenances their pumps. And wherever we purchased our pump from, because it was hard to find the pump so the person that we did find the pump through, they said they mainly sell them to city. They usually don't sell them to individuals. We actually found it a little bit cheaper than what the two gentlemen said that they was going to be. But they did say that they rarely sell them to individual households. And then, of course, I think it was a year and a half ago, our neighbor, his went bad. The city just gave him a used pump. Apparently that was the last one they had, which is, that's fine, but my pump went bad too. I wasn't offered a used pump, which I
They didn't have any more.
Right, I understand that.
If they had one, I'm sure they would give it to you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm concerned that we have an ordinance that would be hard to enforce, and it definitely, there's no kind of consequences if the homeowner doesn't transfer the information that they're owning the pump back to the new owner. So I don't know if this ordinance that we have has teeth.
With the house sale.
Right.
Well, actually, when we sold the house, whenever we bought the house, the city was responsible for the pump. From what I understand, the letter did not come until 2015, you said?
The city hasn't been responsible for the pump since 1990.
Okay.
And actually, ordinance 1983 talks about it being the responsibility of the owners.
Right, the difference in, if I understand this
Grinder
correctly.
pumps were first mentioned in the ordinance in 1990, but homes that connected to the sewer system prior to that time that were below the gravity, whatever means were used, the owner was responsible for maintaining.
In the effort in September 2015, Ms. Evans, the city had thought that they sent the letters out. They were looking for the proof of that, and obviously still looking for it.
You still can't find it?
Pardon?
You still can't find proof
Actually,
of the
the
letter?
individual that was responsible for that was
Okay.
retired.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
but anyway, that's neither here nor there. The effort in 2015 was to make it equitable across the city.
Okay.
Because the rest of the city, the residents in the city, and we estimated it to be 20, so the other 14 residents, if those numbers are accurate, had always been paying for their grinder pumps, repair and renewal. And
Okay.
the homes on Robin Hood, Maid Marian,
Uh-huh.
that was the purpose of the notification in
Right.
2015.
Oh, and I
Was to make
understand
it
that.
equitable across, and like the mayor said, I'm proud that they had a used pump and they gave it to your neighbor.
Right,
We didn't
but
know
that's,
that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it. But how am I paying the same amount of taxes as my neighbor that doesn't have one of these sewer pumps, is my main concern. I'm paying the same amount of sewage taxes as my neighbor that doesn't have one of these pumps, but yet I have to pay $2,000 for a pump when it goes bad every 10
I
years.
think that's a fair question.
Well, the sewage is a fee, it's not a tax.
But you're paying a sewer fee.
Right.
What's going in our
Because it goes into
sewer?
the sewer.
Right, but if the pump that
Well,
we.
she's not gonna get a bill with.
If the pump that we paid for doesn't work because it's expired, then she can't get her sewer to her. I just have a problem. I have a problem with this whole scenario just because we've had.
And
Well,
you're
no
not
kidding.
the first. I mean, it was a problem in
Years.
1979 when it was
Well,
initially adopted.
But I'm just saying, the problem is, I think where, to her point, is the city gave a neighbor a used pump. And that goes against the ordinance that's in place.
And not to mention, if it wasn't, I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if it wasn't, if you weren't responsible for it, why in 2008 did you fix it for the previous owner? If you weren't responsible for it
Yeah,
then?
we're not following
I
our
don't
own
think
ordinance.
that the sewage, wastewater collection does anything but try to help property owners when they have issues. And
Well, but the
if we had
problem,
equipment that would assist the property owner, I'm sure we provided it.
well,
Well, I agree to your point in some aspect. I'm not sure why you would have a sewer bill if your sewer's all in your backyard.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And I
it's
think
not
that
out
we need
there,
to
yeah.
look at the time that your grinder wasn't working and your sewage wasn't going into the
Right.
sewer system, because I don't think that it's equitable that you would have to pay a sewer bill
Right.
if it's all in your backyard.
Right.
I think that's a fair statement. In terms of the pump, based on what we already know, 1990 is when the commission changed the ordinance on the pump. And anything that happened after then,
See, that's where I
that was
was,
before all of
If
us.
the gap was from 1990 to 2015,
So
it's on the 6 homes on Maid Marian and Robin Hood.
that's where I'm confused though. So, I mean, if that's your time gap, then in 2008, they replaced a pump for the previous owner. So, I mean, did that ordinance just not work? It didn't work for her? I
If
mean,
I understand this correctly, that's why the letters were sent out in 2015 to
Okay.
reconcile that. Because
Gotcha.
apparently there was two standards. It was for the homes on Robin Hood and also on Maid Marian.
Mhm.
For those 6 homes, there's a different standard for the rest of the city.
Okay,
So that was the purpose of the letter that was sent out in 2015, in September of 2015, to make sure everybody was under the same auspices. If you buy a house that requires a grinder, you're responsible for that grinder. And I think to the point, whichever commissioner made, I don't know real estate at all, but that seems to be something that would be, like if you live in a floodplain, you have to recognize,
Right.
sign something that
right.
says you live in a
And that's when
floodplain.
I bought the house, Cindy had said, this is not your responsibility, this is the city's, and the padlock was on it. And then supposedly I was supposed to get a letter that I did not receive after I purchased the house. So that's kind of where I'm at, is why did that letter not get to me? And
And I-
because, I mean, I wouldn't have purchased the house, honestly, if I knew that I was responsible for a grinding pump, because who wants that? I mean, who wants that to
And
deal
I
with
can't
that?
defend what somebody told you that sold you the house,
Mhm.
not our lane, but the only thing we could do is look at, what happened on sending out the letters, unless the commission decides to take on responsibility for all the grinders in the city.
Okay, can I leave I made 8 copies for each one of you, all the paperwork and all my taxes and
Amanda, can
everything.
we look at her account as well and the time that, can you let him know how long your system was down?
I mean, it was only down it was January 2nd, it came out, and then we fixed it January 3rd, because like I said, I had raw sewage, and that's not good for myself.
Well, like I said, I think if your
Yeah. Yeah.
sewage wasn't going into the sewer
Yeah.
system,
It
then
was
I
just-
think
yeah.
we shouldn't be charging you
Yeah.
that. That's
So-
my opinion.
When did it start?
January 2nd is whenever it started overflowing. And then January 3rd is January 2nd is when the city came out that day and said, I mean, the 2 gentlemen were kind of just bland. They came out, they're like, nothing we can do. The pump's $4,000. I mean, weren't helpful at all. And then January 3rd is when the plumber came out and pulled out all my sewage from this pump, and then decided that it was the pump. And then the following day is when the pump was delivered and put in. So for a 3-day span.
Mr. Eastwood, just to be clear, if the grinder's not working, then the sewage won't go into the sewage system.
That's correct.
Yeah,
It goes out on the ground.
it sure did. Yeah. So, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
thank you. We'll be looking at this.
Okay.
Anyone else like to appear before the commission? Thank you for being here. No old business, nothing new on old business. Consent agenda.
Resolution, City of Ashland, Kentucky, adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting Board of City Commissioners, February 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. New business, item A.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing directing the mayor to accept the proposal of Xylem Water Solutions USA Inc. to provide materials, services for the water treatment plant filter project for the Department of Engineering Utilities, declaring an emergency to exist to allow 2 readings of the ordinance on the same day. This is already an attachment to the memorandum of understanding. They wanted this signed for their records.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item B.
Need emergency. Motion to suspend.
Yeah, motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Motion final adoption.
So we've got, first we got to take a vote on the motion to suspend the rules.
Oh, we just did.
No, it's
I
just
didn't
a
hear
All in
that.
favor?
I heard the motion, I didn't hear the vote.
Yeah, it was.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Final adoption.
Now, motion for
Final
final.
adoption.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item B.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending ordinance 101, series 86, is previously amended by amending section 8, section 8.3, regulation for conditional use permits beekeeping operations, amending article 15, definitions to include the definition of beekeeping operation.
Someone?
Second.
Any discussion?
Creates a conditional use in residential neighborhoods for beekeeping.
So if someone wants to become a beekeeper,
They apply,
they
come
file
down,
an application to
This is
BZA.
appear before the BZA, get the okay, get the requirements that are set.
And
Okay.
Dudley County.
Good. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Get the honey going. Item C.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a memorandum of agreement between the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and the city, Cuyahoga Interstate Planning Commission regarding metropolitan transportation planning process.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item D.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky amending Appendix F, drug and alcohol testing policy of the policies and procedures compensation plan classification plan is adopted by ordinance 51, series 2017, as previously amended to include the Department of Transportation regulation changes for drug and alcohol testing in 49 CFR Part 40.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a clarification, what all this does is basically expand what we test for when we test.
That's accurate. That's testing for 4 new synthetic drugs that are in the opioid category for CDL holders, mass transit workers, and fleet maintenance personnel.
Thanks, I just want to make the public aware.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item E.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky amending ordinance 56, series 2009, which established procedures for use of city streets, rights of way, or facilities for street events, updating the event application form.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
This is on the website.
The new form will be on the website when you approve it.
Yeah.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Opposed, like sign. Thank you all. Item F.
Ordinance City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a contract between the city and River Cities Disposal LLC, suitable landfill location for receipt disposal of compacted garbage and refuse, rubble and rubbish collected by the city for a period of 1 year and an amount not to exceed $17.97 per ton for the Department of Public Works, Division of Sanitation.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Item G.
The mayor asks for your concurrence of the appointment of Debbie Keys to the Ashland Area Convention Visitors Bureau Board, 3-year term, ending January 31st, 2021. She's a CPA at Kelly Galloway.
It's a reappointment.
Reappoint,
Yeah.
you're correct.
We have a motion.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you all. Any other new business?
Do we need to do anything on that application, or just
We don't
a
need
general consensus of we're all okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
I just didn't know if we needed some sort of official action.
Like the way we just did with the other form.
We would
Once
like,
you get it,
You know, we
I would like
probably
to read-
need to look at the ordinance that put that other application
Yeah.
in place.
Okay.
do it next meeting and
Yeah.
finalize it. And what we'll have before the next meeting is a suggested, recommended application, bringing the old and the new together.
Nothing wrong with asking them for supplemental.
I don't think so either.
That
I
application.
don't
Yeah,
either. I
I
don't
agree,
care.
and like I said, I thank you all very much for that, because I've kind of been on this for a while.
You did a good job on it.
We're extending to February 1st for another
Yeah, I think
submit.
to make the public aware that that February 1st deadline is in the wind at this point, and we will do another deadline when we finalize the application.
Okay, good.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
We're adjourned.